Welcome sa klase ni Sir Rojan. Ang klase na para nagkakwentuhan pero may matututunan. Ang klase na para sa lahat, lalo na sa mga nahirapan. Basta kay Sir Rojan, ibang klase. Let's go! Sa last video natin, pinag-usapan natin ang tungkol sa cost, volume, profit analysis. Ano nga bang meron dito? Pinakita natin kung paano nakakaapekto ang volume at saka yung iba't ibang costs sa profit. Okay, ngayon naman, pag-uusapan natin ano naman yung iba pang may encounter natin pag nagsagot tayo ng mga problems tungkol sa CVP analysis. Okay? Sige. Okay. Bago natin simulan yung mga magiging bagong topics natin, gusto ko lang ulit balikan, no? I-refresh natin. Paano nga ba natin kino-compute ang break-even natin? So, magsisimula tayo again sa pagko-compute ng ating operating profit. Sales less variable cost divided by equals contribution margin less fixed cost equals operating profit. So, para makuha mo yung ratio, which is gagamitin mo sa computation ng break-even, just divide the items by the sales. For example, divide mo itong variable cost by the sales, you have your variable cost ratio. So that's a percentage. Ang sales mo is automatic 100% kasi sales divide sales is 1. So that's 100%. Contribution margin divided by sales, also that's called contribution margin ratio. Okay? Bakit natin ito kino-compute? Kasi kailangan natin yan sa pagko-compute ng ating break-even. So again, meron tayong break-even na dalawa. Break-even in peso, that's equal to fixed cost, total fixed cost to divided by your contribution margin ratio. Okay? The other one, break-even point in units, that's fixed cost divided by contribution margin per unit. Yung contribution margin ratio mo, pag hindi given, pero given yung variable cost mo, the sales ratio minus variable cost ratio. Ito nga yun, di ba? Yung may percent. Contribution margin mo, hindi given yung contribution margin per unit. Selling price minus variable cost per unit. Basta naka per unit siya. Okay? Para makancel yung peso, matira yung units. Now, I'm going to introduce to you a new topic, which is what we call margin of safety. Margin of safety. Ano naman to? Assuming meron kang budgeted sales. Okay? Tapos meron kang break-even sales. Ano nga ulit ang break-even? Break-even. Ito yung amount of sales na kapag ito lang ang na-generate mo, wala kang income, wala kang loss. Ano ka lang, zero ka lang. Break-even yun. Okay? Kapag hindi mo na-meet yung budgeted sales, as long as mataas ka pa sa break-even, profit ka dun. So therefore, ang margin of safety mo means it is the reduction in your sales before you can incur losses. Margin of safety. Ito yung bilang or amount of sales na tolerable kang hindi ma-generate for as long as more than break-even ka pa. Otherwise, if your margin of safety is negative, then therefore, you're experiencing losses. Okay? Ayan na. Ito yung maximum amount of reduction in sales before you can incur losses. Okay? Yan. Kasi ibig sabihin, halimbawa, ganito. Meron kang budgeted sales. Ang target sales mo is 100,000. Based on your computation, ang inyong break-even is 80,000. Therefore, 20,000 ang maximum number of or maximum amount of sales na pwedeng bumaba bago ka magkaroon ng loss. So, pag hindi mo na-meet or pag hindi ka nakakabenta, no, ng 20,000 or more, ibig sabihin, ikaw ay lugi na niyan. Kasi kailangan 80,000 na ma-generate mo. Okay. Now, meron din tayong tinatawag na ratio. Margin of safety ratio. So, how do you do this? Just like what you're doing here. Divide mo lang yung margin of safety by the budgeted sales. So, you have your margin of safety ratio. Okay? Ayan. And then, break-even sales. So, break-even sales ratio. That's, again, divide mo lang yung break-even sales by the budgeted sales. Okay? So, yun yung margin of safety natin. There's another way of computing operating profit, this one. using your margin of safety. Operating profit is equal to margin of safety multiplied by contribution margin. Okay? Margin of safety multiplied by contribution margin ratio. Yan, contribution margin ratio. So, halimbawa, at subukan nating ilagyan siya ng given. Halimbawa ay meron kang 100,000 dito sa sales. Variable cost is 80,000. Okay? You have your contribution. Masyado malaki yung ano natin. Let's say this is 60,000 muna. 60,000. Then this is 40,000. Tapos, fixed cost mo, let's say 40,000. So, meron kang operating profit na 0. Ibig sabihin, ang break-even point mo is 100,000. Okay? So, let's try to use BEP. Check natin kung tama bang operating profit natin is 0. So, break-even point in peso equals fixed cost per unit. Fixed cost, total fixed cost. Divided by contribution margin ratio. How do you compute that? 40,000 divide 100,000. So, that's 40%. So, that's 100,000. So, ibig sabihin, pag nakapag-generate ka ng 100,000, wala kang lugi, wala kang income. So, tama naman yan. Okay. So, let's try to use this formula. Margin of safety times contribution margin ratio. Assuming ang break-even mo nga is, ang budgeted sales mo, let's say for example is, ito nga, budgeted sales mo is 100,000, which happens to be also your break-even. Break-even mo is also 100,000. Okay? So therefore, meron kang margin of safety na 0. Saktuhan ka lang. So pag minultiply mo yung contribution margin ratio, which is 40%, by the margin of safety, 0. Ang sagot ba talaga dyan, 0? Let's try to do this the other way. Baguhin natin yung ating sales. Yan. Instead, gawin nating let's say 150,000. Tapos this time, 60% ng 150, gawin nating 90,000. 90,000. So this is 60,000. Bale, 60,000 to, di ba? Fixed cost mo, same yan. Hindi magbabago. So therefore, meron kang operating profit na 20,000. Okay? Break-even mo still the same. This is still 40%, I suppose. 60 divide 150. Oh, that's same, 40% pa din. Okay? This is 60%. Parang kanina lang. Ngayon, gamitin ulit natin itong formula. But this time, ang budgeted sales mo is now equal to 150,000. Ang inyong break-even, kagaya na compute natin, is 100,000. So, meron kang 50,000 margin of safety. Ibig sabihin, pag hindi mo na-meet yung, pag hindi ka nakakapag-generate ng 50,000 or more, chances are palugi ka na. Okay? So, let's try to use this. Compute natin the operating profit using the formula. Margin of safety, 50,000 multiplied by contribution margin ratio, which is 40%. So, 40% equals 20,000. So, pinakita lang natin dito na pwede ka makapag-compute ng operating profit using this formula. Para at least next time, magamit mo siya pag mag-compute ka ng operating profit using margin of safety and contribution margin ratio. Okay? Ayan. Next. Ngayon naman, what if meron kang target profit? Okay? So, bago ako magbabago ako. Pwede ba itong galawin? Yan, bago tayong whiteboard. What if meron ka naman target profit? Okay? Target profit. Ibig sabihin, pwede ko pa rin bang gamitin, sir, yung formula ng break-even point? Yes. Hindi na nga lang siya break-even ang tawag. Kasi meron ka ng meron ka ng profit. Kasi break-even, wala kang profit. Ano na kayo ng tawag sa kanya? Bahala ka na kung ano gusto mo itawag, no? Basta yun yung target sales mo. Your sales is equal to fixed cost plus yung target profit. Take note, this should be pre-tax. Dapat yung target profit mo is before tax. Divided by contribution margin ratio. Kung sales ka. Number of units sold. Number of units sold. Ganun din. Fixed cost plus target profit divided by contribution margin per unit. So, mapapansin ninyo, ito yung formula natin ng break-even. Nadagdagan lang siya ng target profit. Pero dapat siya ay before tax. Okay? So, bigyan natin kayo ng example. Yan. So, halimbawa, meron ako ditong selling price. 400 pesos per unit. Okay? Meron ako ditong variable cost per unit. 240 per unit. Then finally, meron akong fixed cost. It's equal to 800,000. Okay, so kumpitin natin yung break-even point muna in pesos. Okay, so you have your fixed cost of 800,000 divided by contribution margin ratio. How would you compute this? Ito lang ang given natin. Get the variable cost ratio muna. So you have 240 divide 400. This is 60%. 60%. Kasi di ba, sales less variable cost equals contribution margin. Pwede mong gamitin yan kahit per unit. So 240 divide 400, that's 60%. This is 100%. So contribution margin ratio mo is 40%. So therefore, 800 divide 0.4, that is 2 million. Ibig sabihin, ito yung amount of sales na kailangan mong i-generate kung ayaw mong malugi. Okay? Yan yung minimum. Kung ayaw mong malugi, kailangan makapag-generate ka ng 2 million pesos. Okay. So, kung kunin mo naman yung break-even point in units, okay, divide mo lang yung 2 million pesos na sales mo by the selling price of 400. Di meron kang 2 million divide 400. You have 5,000 units. Yan. Yan ay kung wala kang target profit. Let's see, meron ka namang target profit na scenario number 1. Lagyan natin ng scenario. Number 1, meron kang profit target na before tax na 400,000. O so kung before tax yan, dagdag mo lang sa ating formula. Yung sales mo is equal to 800,000 plus 400,000 divided by 40%. So that's 1,200,000 divide 0.4, 3 million. 3 million. Okay? Ito yung sagot natin. So try natin siyang i-substitute, no? Just to make sure. You have your sales, variable cost, contribution margin, fixed cost, and operating profit. So you have, sabi nga natin, na-compute natin is 3 million. Pag nakapag-generate ka ng 3 million worth of sales, makakikita ka ng operating profit na 400,000. Try natin subukan kung tama ba. 3 million times, again, ang inyong variable cost ratio is 60%. So that's 1,800,000. Okay? Contribution margin mo is 1,200,000 minus. Fixed cost mo is 800,000. Therefore, operating profit mo is 400,000. So, tama. Tama yung sagot natin, no, na 3 million. Now, assuming halimbawa, ang scenario number 2, profit is after tax. Profit is after tax. Target profit mo after tax is, let's say, 480,000. Tapos, 40% ang tax rate. Okay? So, this is your tax. yung 40%. So sabi ko nga sa inyo, gamitin niyo yung pre-tax. Paano ko yung gagawin, sir? Kunin mo yung gross before tax. So therefore, sales equals 800,000 fixed cost mo plus yung 480 mo, kung naibawas na dun yung tax, ang natitira na dun is 60%. Ibig sabihin, kung 40% ang tax, this is 60% yung natitira. So kailangan mo siya i-gross up. Ibig sabihin, di-divide mo sa 60. Divide 0.6. So therefore, 800,000 yung before tax. 800,000 yan. Divided by 40%, which is yung contribution margin ratio mo. Therefore, 800 plus 800 divide 0.4 is 4 million. 4 million. O, try natin i-substitute yan. 4 million sales minus variable cost of 60%. So that is 24. That's 1,600,000 ang contribution margin mo. Minus fixed cost mo of 800,000. Therefore, 800,000 ang before tax mo. Multiply mo sa 40%, yun yung tax. Hindi meron ka ditong 320,000 na tax. I-minus mo sa 800,000 equals 480,000 after tax. Okay? So ito, pinakita lang natin yung concept ng margin of safety. Paano mo siya pwedeng gamitin para makompute mo yung operating profit mo. No? Tapos, pinakita din natin kung what if may target profit ka, what if hindi naman break even. So same concept. Gamitin mo lang palagi yung formula ng break even. Just add the target profit sa numerator, which is yung fixed cost mo. Tapos yun, makakompute mo na yung sales mo na tina-target mo din. What if after tax naman siya? If it is after tax, no? Again, kunin mo lang yung gross of tax. Kung ang magkano yung tax rate, yung natitira nun, yun yung pande-divide mo. Let's say yung tax rate mo is 30%. Therefore, yung after-tax na amount, 70% na lang yun. So, i-divide mo sa 70% yung amount na yun. Mag-gross up mo na siya. Tapos, tsaka mo siya i-add sa fixed cost, which is yung numerator mo ng break-even. Okay? So, stop muna natin ulit dito. Part 2 ito ng ating video tungkol sa CVP. Next, next video and next video tsaka last video natin is tungkol sa multi-product sales. Kasi lahat ng dinidiscuss natin, isang product ang pinag-uusapan natin. Isang product lang yan. What if the company has 2 or more products na binibenta? How would you now compute the break-even? For each ba or for all? As a whole na yung break-even natin. Okay? So pag-uusapan natin yun sa susunod nating video. Tsaka yung concept ng operating leverage. At tsaka anong kinalaman niya sa CVP analysis. Okay? So, kung medyo nabilisan ka sa discussion, ulitin mo lang yung video natin para at least nasundan mo na masundan. Sige, kung may katanungan ka, mag-comment ka lang sa ating sa baba, tapos sasagutin natin yan sa susunod na video natin. Okay? So, yun lang. Ingat kayo palagi at huwag pababayaan ang sarili, kumain na maayos at laging mag-aral na mabuti. Ingat kayo palagi. Bye-bye!